Hello there, Ride the Car Guy here. We are back. I'm so excited. We finally made the turn on the Mustang. We fully disassembled it, got all the parts needed that we need to rebuild it, and now we are starting the reassembly. I sent the heads out to a head shop. I had the heads fully reconditioned. There were some things that were out of spec. So we had the valve seats reground. We had the surface, of course, refinished. It looks absolutely amazing. They basically look like new heads. After that, I put on brand new Ford Racing Performance hot rod cams, and I put in new followers and lash adjusters. So basically, we have a complete top end rebuild. I tried to make things a little bit easier for myself during the reassembly. I put the long tube headers onto the heads before putting them back onto the motor. It was just a little bit tricky getting them in, but it's gonna be a lot easier than taking out your starter, taking apart your steering, taking off the bottom engine mounts, all that stuff. So we were able to skip that. We just slid them in that way, and now the heads are back on. I married them back to the block, so I torqued down all of the head bolts, and I of course have the new head gaskets. So now we're at the point of putting all of the timing back on, and that's what I want to do today. Now I went ahead and I bought the Ford Performance full timing kit. Now if there's one place that you absolutely never want to cheap out on, it's when you're buying all of your timing equipment. So it was a bit expensive, but that's okay. You're going to get everything that you need. Here we have, of course, our cam gears and the phasers. We have our tensioners, the sprocket for the crank, all of the bolts that we need. This is probably the cam position sensor wheel, a few gaskets, obviously the gasket for our timing cover, both timing chains, and our timing chain guides. If you go to the Ford Performance site, this is about $650 to $700. If you shop around, you can get it for about $500. In my opinion, it's worth it for peace of mind. These are Ford parts. They were designed specifically for this motor by Ford, so I went with this kit. So I'm gonna start with the cam gear and phaser, and then once we get those installed, we're gonna put on our chain. All right, we are starting on, if you're looking at the motor, it would be the left side, but it's actually the right side of the motor. So grab either gear, doesn't matter because they're the same exact part. And we want to just line up this little notch here, this little peg, right here on this spot, obviously on the cam to put it. So we just line those up, and we're going to finger tighten our brand new phaser bolt, guys, because these are one-time use. They're torque to yield, one-time use. So make sure, even if you were using your old phasers and your old cam gears, that you get new bolts. So I'm going to line this up. There we go. And then just get the bolt in there, finger tighten it. Make sure that that peg is in the right place. Good. And just get in there enough to hold it on, and then we'll worry about torquing it. Okay, to torque this down, we need to make sure that it doesn't move left and right. Obviously, if we were to try to torque it right now, then it would just turn the cam, push down the valves, and it would effectively not let us torque it all the way down. So to get it to spec, we need to use a special tool. This is special tool 3031046, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 14 bucks or something. And if you're doing this job on your own, it's definitely helpful. I've seen some people grab, the cam right behind the gear and have someone hold it. I'm not into that, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's great, but it's just me out here. So I am using this tool, and I am going to slide it in place just like this, and it's going to hold the gear in place. So I'm just going to use 2 bolts from the timing cover just to cinch this down and hold it in place. So here's one. Gotta get it in there, cool. Finger tighten it. Awesome. Once it's finger tight, just make sure that the teeth are all lined up, and then grab your other bolt, slide it in. Really, for this bolt, you just want to basically get all the threads into the hole so you're not damaging threads. However, we're just keeping the gear from turning, so you don't really need to worry about getting these fully torqued down. So now with this in place, it will not turn. So now we can get our torque wrench, torque it down to what's going to end up being 30 foot-pound plus 90 degrees or quarter turn, however you want to say it. All right. So we're at our 30 foot-pounds. Then grab your breaker bar. All right. and give it 90 degrees. So from here to about here. Excellent. We're done with that side. Once you're done, just remove this tool and do the exact same thing on that side. Okay, we are ready to install our timing chains. So we want to start with getting our new sprocket, and I have my keyway at 12 o'clock. I'm going to install the chains exactly how I took them off. That way I know that I'm good. So I'm going to slide this on here. Easy enough. And the timing mark is just a little notch taken out right here. The instructions are going to say put it at the very bottom, basically straight down. I had trouble getting the crank to go left without the bolt loosening, but regardless, I'm going to, again, just put it on the exact way I took it off so I know everything's good. So we're going to grab the rear chain first, which is the left-hand side. Find your timing marks, which is the basically the off-colored link, and we'll just set, oh, I have some oil in here, it's going to spill, that's all right. We're going to set one on the L. So get the L there, do one more. There we go. And then we're going to set the next one on. And if you need to slide your sprocket down a little bit to get it to fit, that's perfectly fine. So let me move over here. So we're off a little bit. So what we need to do is I need to get that to rest there, good. And what that means is we actually need to turn this cam a bit to get it to fit. There we go. So now, turn this back a little bit, there we go. That's nice and tight. Excellent. So we just had to turn it the slightest bit to make sure that the L on the left side of the motor has the chain link on it, the colored chain link, and then so does the sprocket on the crank. So now perform the same thing on the front. So get our link with the color here. We'll just kind of rest it on the crank for now while we get this situated. Excellent, there we are. And now figure out where that link is. All right, right there. So now, if we just try to get that lined up there, I know it's going to be tough for you to see. All right, looks like it needs to go one over. So that means we're just going to turn this a little bit to the right and get it to go one tooth over to the right. Excellent. Looks like that should do it. Okay, let's see if that did it. So now we want to install our chain guides. We can just go ahead and choose a side, doesn't really matter, and just start placing them in. And this kit provides all new hardware. Just kind of finagle it until you think it's where it needs to be. There we go, got that one. Finger tighten it. Awesome. Then grab the other bolt, finger tighten that as well. These are 8mm as well, just so you know. We don't need to tighten these to spec just yet until we get all of them installed, but when we do, they're going to go to 89 inch-pounds. This side might be a little tough. The chain guide kind of sits behind the chain, so you may need to give yourself a little slack or give it a good push. There we go. There we go. That was pretty uneventful. So now just bolt that down as well. Excellent. Now go back through and tighten them down to 89 inch-pounds. Okay, next step is to take the bottom chain guide and the tensioner and install those. Now the tensioner is going to rest here, and this of course is a mating surface with a gasket because it uses oil pressure. So we want to ensure that this is nice and clean. So I just wipe this off with some alcohol. Now this guide there is actually a left and a right. So on the passenger side, you need to take this offset. There's one with an offset that kind of pushes it out because this gear is further out from the engine. So make sure you're using the right one. Pull the chain over top of it, slide it on, excellent. And now we need to take our tensioner and get it installed here. Each tensioner is also specific to the side, but it'll have a big R or a big L for both sides of the motor, so you shouldn't mix those up. So let's grab that, try to slide these in here. Excellent. And then get that one in there. Hopefully it will thread. There we go. Now, to relieve some of this tension, you may want to get a ratchet on here and just kind of turn it a little bit to the left to relieve this tension so you're not cross-threading or doing anything strange like that. And effectively just kind of swap off here. So basically use your left hand to relieve some of the tension. There we go. And now it's going to go in nice and smooth. Hopefully you can see this. Good. Same story here. Awesome. That one's in. Now just repeat the same thing on the other side. All right, looks like on this side, all the tension is already relieved. It's already on this side. So we'll just go ahead and spin these down. So now get those down to 18 foot-pounds. When you're ready, just do one last inspection. Make sure everything looks like it's lined up, nothing weird, nothing out of place, and then just pull your pins. There we go. Awesome. All right, I'm super pumped up now because I feel like the rest is just gonna kind of fall into place. Once we get that front cover back on, I'm just gonna throw everything back on, put everything to spec, and we should be ready to start this sucker up. Now the rest of the assembly is effectively the reverse of what we did to take it all apart, but if you have any questions or comments, definitely hit me up in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm definitely gonna put a video up of my first startup. It still needs to get tuned. It's probably gonna sound a little bit weird, but we have those long tube headers and we have those new racing cams, so I cannot wait. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.